This is the plaintiff, Virginia Robinson. She says the defendant, the super in her building, changed the locks to one of the apartments she owns and locked her out of her own place. The guy's a hooligan who's jealous she owns 2 apartments. She had to hire a locksmith to break into her own place, and she's suing her Subpar Super for the $212 it cost her. This is the defendant, Anthony Gould-Charan. He says he's been the super for 13 years and was actually hired by the plaintiff when she was the president of the board. The woman thinks she can just go around doing whatever she wants, but she can't. There were rules and regulations to follow. When she illegally rented out one of her apartments without the approval of the board, the marshal came and evicted her tenant, and the locks were changed. The plaintiff has been fighting with everyone in the building, and now she's coming after him? Preposterous. He's accused of locking out a louse.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff says the super in her building changed the locks in her unit, but the super saying that she was breaking the law. So tough. It's the case of my super ain't so super.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Virginia Robinson, you are suing the super of your building, Anthony Gould-Charan, for $212, the amount that it cost you to change some locks on an apartment that you own there. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, I lived in the building for about 29 years. And
It's a co-op?
It's a co-op, yes.
Okay.
And for many years, I was the president of the board, so I basically know the rules of the co-op.
How many years were you president?
About 5 years.
Okay, and how long ago was that?
That was about 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so what happened here?
When I came to the building, I purchased 2 apartments in the building. My son was in the service at that time, so one of the apartments was for my son. But when he came home, he decided he was going to live in North Carolina, so I started renting the apartment.
Okay.
What happened in this case was there was a little fella in the neighborhood, bought a hardware store in the neighborhood, so he just wanted a place to stay overnight until he goes back to...
Yeah, that's the place he sleeps. So he rented the place out, only you didn't go through the board and get permission, did you?
Yes, we have no board. We have no board. They have 3 ladies that now sitting on the board, but when we go to them, they will not talk to us. They just close the door in our face.
Okay, so but as a former board president, you know that there needs to be board approval for you to rent the place out, right?
Yeah. Well,
you just don't like who's in charge now.
And so who do we go to? So do we go to the super? That's the next person we go to is the super.
You went to the super instead of the board for approval? Because
we have no board. Just for 10 years, we have no board.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's in the board? I don't mean their names. I mean, how many people are in the board?
There's 3 resident board members, and there's 3 owners, which is the sponsors.
Okay, and how are they elected?
Well, every year we have an election.
Every year you have an election?
Yes.
All right, so why are you here today suing the super?
I just like to say they don't have an election. We didn't have election to put them on the board. Okay. The manager placed them on the board, but there was never election, and they never come to a meeting. They have not been to one meeting. You go to their door, they close the door in our face, and they don't talk to us.
Okay.
So the only person we talk to is Tony.
All right, so you rent the place out. According to you, Tony's in on it because he does a bunch of repairs for that fellow. But as it turns out, the board sends you a letter and says you rented the place out without our approval and your guy must leave.
And they sent me an eviction notice, yeah.
All right, and then so your guy left, the guy you were renting it to. All right, but once again, why are you suing the super today for $212? What happened?
Because the super went into the apartment, opened the doors, took both of the locks off the door, the top and the bottom, didn't tell me he had done that. When I went to the apartment, I go in once in a while to sweep up and look around. I found the apartment that he had broken into the apartment. So I had to get
What do you mean you found he had broken in?
I couldn't get in with the key I had.
Okay.
So then I realized
and so what did you do?
I had to I found out that he locked me out, so I had to get a locksmith to let me in the apartment.
Did you ever call him and have him come to open it up for you?
He does not talk to me. He doesn't talk to anybody.
So the answer to that is no.
He does not talk to me.
All right, tell me your version on this. Why is the bottom lock different?
Well, when they evicted her tenant, which was last year, around April, the locksmith came, they replaced the lock, and the office manager gave her the keys.
Who is the office manager who gave the key? How do you know the office manager gave her a key?
Well, she had the key when she assumed that she was locked out. She came down to him, which was in August. She said she couldn't get in her apartment. I went upstairs. I said, "Oh, there's the key right in your hand," and I opened the door for her.
Okay, and you're saying that never happened? He never let you in with the key that was in your hand, ma'am?
No, I had to have the locksmith come and let me in.
I know you did have a locksmith come. I know that. And I know you spent $212. What I'm not sure about is why you're suing the super, because the super only acts on behalf of the board. So he's an employee of the board. If you think that your co-op board did something wrong because they changed the lock and didn't give you a key, which you're saying she had the key, she just what? She was confused about which?
Yes, it was a lot of keys in her hand.
Okay, and so did you pull out which key it was?
Yes, because it was a Mark lock. The lock says Mark on it.
The lock says Mark and the key says Mark.
It says Mark.
That's a brand of lock.
Yes.
So, can she win against the superintendent of the building? What do you think?
No.
Why not?
Because they were just doing their job.
Well, just doing the job, but what if the super knows it's wrong?
I would just say that he would get fired if he didn't do his job, and so he has a good reason.
That's called catch-22, going inside the courtroom.
Do you have a Mark key on your keychain?
Yes.
Okay, and does it open the bottom lock or not anymore because we paid a locksmith $212 to change that one?
When he opened the door, he opened it with the key that he had changed. He did not open it with the keys that I had that previously opened the door.
I'm going to assume for the purposes of our discussion that you are right and he is wrong. Let's just assume that for the purposes of our discussion. You have brought to court the super. He is an employee who gets paid by the board that you say doesn't exist. I take it you do not get along with the new board. Okay, whatever reasoning there is, if you feel that he took an action on behalf of the board that the board could not legally take, you need to sue the board, not the super. He's just the employee. When you say, well, they won't talk to me, so who am I going to go to next? I'm just going to sue the super. Well, that may be what you do, but that's not going to be what I do because that's not appropriate, right? I do not visit on him your supposed sin of his employer. You would have to sue the board. And they sent a letter in on your behalf saying exactly what he said, that the bottom lock gets changed and that you were given a key. So I'm not sure why you called the locksmith, but either way, you're suing the wrong person, and my verdict in this case is for the defendant.
Well, here she is. This is the plaintiff coming out of the courtroom. Step right over here. I want to ask you a question. What's your reaction to learning here from the judge that you've sued the wrong person?
We don't have a board. We don't have a board. A board was never elected. The three girls that they tell us, we go to them and they said, we are not on the board. So the next person we go is the super. And I have a letters here where he agreed to let the guy go in the apartment because he did the repairs in the apartment. And then he went and told him and threw the guy out. He's absolutely wrong. He's absolutely wrong. Our board is supposed to...
Who's running the show over there?
This is the guy that's running the show.
He's running the whole show.
Running the whole show.
Okay, let's see what he has to say.
When you have a board,
All right, you head right down there, okay? Head right down that way. All right, so come on in here. Oh, so you're the big boss. You run the whole building.
I run the whole building.
All the decisions.
All the decisions.
You're the board now.
No.
No?
I'm just an employee, and there's, of course, a board of directors.
Well, she's out here saying there's no board.
She's been having a lot of problems with the board over the years because she was the former president.
There is a board?
Yes.
With a president and everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Harvey?
Here's a short story. The super is an agent for the board, and the agent is responsible. She has to sue the board.